Hey guys, it's Matt. I come back to this a lot personally, trying to figure out what this Bill of Rights was all about. And before you start rolling your eyes, this is not going to be the presentation you think it is. Of course, every single amendment that we call the Bill of Rights has been violated, trashed, taken behind the woodshed, in some cases, thousands of times over. It is worth, I guess, mentioning the violations, spending 5 minutes on that in our inability to deal with anyone around us. I'm going to try this one. Are you really, or can you really call me a conspiracy theorist when I could show you in 5 minutes how every one of the Bill of Rights has been destroyed? Just say nothing. Can you really call me a conspiracy theorist? I'm not talking to you, of course. I'm talking to my golf buddy or whatever. Can you really call me a conspiracy theorist when I could show you in 5 minutes that every single one of the Bill of Rights has been destroyed? And then just shut up. I'm not sure what people would say to that. There's only two options. They would say, well, that can't be right. You must be wrong about that. The Supreme Court would have caught violations to the Bill of Rights of the first 10 amendments to the United States Constitution. Oh, if you think I'm wrong, then allow me to show them to you. It'll take maybe 5 minutes. And will you allow, they won't allow that, but at least it's a way to maybe put them, I don't know. Again, it's pointless talking to anybody anyway, but we continue to do these exercises. Or if they say, would they say, yes, I agree with you, Matt, every single one of the Bill of Rights has been violated, but you're still a conspiracy theorist. Maybe they will say that. I don't know. That would be bordering on insane. But whatever. The point is, one of the main purposes of this Bill of Rights was probably a big part of how the game is being played here, of the minions on behalf of a reality that is trying to reduce human beings lower. So it's kind of like, in other words, what I'm saying is this is not what it seems to be. And I'm not sure how many people in the even truth community has even talked about this or even floated this. But it's something like, at the minimum, to me, it's like a karma get out of jail free card, or something when they go to screw us over here per the yin and yang of how the reality has to work. When they go to screw us over here, they can always come back to, when they take their podium in their defense, say, well, we gave them the absolute perfect or the an incredibly advanced framework for protecting human rights. We gave that to them, and then, of course, because this is our role, the minion assholes, we encroached on it, and they didn't notice, they didn't push back, and they didn't call us out on it. So that enables us to continue to screw them over here. I'm kind of thinking, guys, this is really what this document's for. Of course, nothing is what it appears in this reality. So you set up this framework, and then you intentionally, if you're playing the game as a minion on behalf of the reality itself, and we have no other. That's the best way I can put it. There is no other way to put it. Then you set up a framework for freedom, and then you simply destroy each one, encroach on it, and destroy it, not encroach on it. That's like somebody encroaching into your seat on a long flight. No, destroy it, each one, and then if nobody does anything, well, it's like it was put there as like to reduce their karma load, something like that, or allow them to continue to play the game, to continue to work over human beings and down into a lower state. So let's continue to talk about that. But first, I do want to go over each one of these in just 30 to 45 seconds each, up to 1 minute each. And it is relatively important, guys. I know there's not many people we're going to be able to reach, et cetera, but it is powerful in some cases to be able to say, maybe when you're backed into a corner, if I can show you how the Bill of Rights, each one has been destroyed, and it'll only take me about 5 minutes. Are you good? How could you possibly continue to call me a conspiracy theorist after that? And just shut up and see what they say. I mean, but this whole thing, the founding fathers, it's just a fairy tale. It's a fairy tale to, I don't know, it's like they set it up to reduce their karma debt or their karma load. And I want to ask I want to ask the bot that's monitoring this on behalf of the minions. I'd like to ask, I and real people, real human beings, real souls attached to spirit, listening to this and putting their attention into this as they're listening to it. If no one has ever called it out directly, well, we notice that every one of these has been destroyed. So what do you lose by us noticing, or what do we get? The yin and yang reality, the yin and yang must work this way. Okay, this was set up to be encroached upon, and then if nobody calls it out, then you can continue to screw real people over. Well, we're calling it out. What do we get? What do we get for calling it out? How about we end the entire shenanigans that's going on now worldwide? And would we be equal? No. Then it would be like that scene in Braveheart where Mel Gibson, as William Wallace, proceeds out onto the battlefield and says, "No, that's not good enough. Your commander shall come before this army, turn around, put his head between his own legs, and kiss his own arse." Would we be equal? No, but this would be a start. It would be a start. So we're calling it out and completely retract the entire world situation now. And then there'll be grounds for negotiation. You wouldn't even be close to have made up for all the ways you've screwed us and that we've noticed. But it's worth going over, guys. And I'll do this. I'll go 30 to 45 seconds each just to run through it. And it's like, oh God, we're going to go over Bill of Rights. I'll be quick, and then we'll get to a more interesting part. But before we do this, look at this. Who's this? Madison, I guess. He's part of the big fraud. Thomas Jefferson wrote to James Madison advocating a Bill of Rights. Thomas Jefferson wrote, "Half a loaf is better than no bread. If we cannot secure all of our rights, let us secure what," it ends here. It goes on to say, let us secure what we can. Half a loaf is better than no bread. If we cannot secure all our rights, let us secure what we can. And you go, what? This, if a third party jumped into this, or an alien came in a flying saucer and looked in on this, you'd say, well, this is somebody like addressing a king, or in a really bad situation, somebody that's, really under the thumb of a tyrant, or somebody that doesn't have a lot of options. Or what is he talking about? Thomas Jefferson to James Madison. Why would they just supposedly won the Revolutionary War? They have the opportunity to put in pure freedom for everybody. Is anybody stopping them? What is he even talking about? Well, I know how the historians will explain it. I'll explain it to you. Half a loaf is better. If we cannot secure all our rights, let us secure what we can. Supposedly, history tells us there's this big back and forth about that there should be no need to mention a Bill of Rights or the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. And they just bickered back and forth. And, it was really, really difficult to get the Bill of Rights or the first 10 amendments in, and finally there were agreements. And why? Why would it be, why would it be if I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. Obviously, why is Thomas Jefferson looking to get half a loaf after the Revolutionary War, 10 years after the Revolutionary War is won, and with the opportunity to build a perfect freedom framework for supposedly the citizens of maybe before it was a corporation, who knows, the United States. And he's even there. They can't even get. It's just ridiculous. It's just the whole thing is a fairy tale. So let's go over this. See, First Amendment. The way they get around this is Congress shall make no law establishing a religion prohibiting free speech, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly. Congress shall make no law regarding the free speech. Congress doesn't have to make a law. Everybody's speech is funneled through 3 or 4 outlets, all under the control of the assholes like YouTube or Facebook. And if you don't like what's being said there, you just snuff it out. You censor it. You just put all the traffic through 3. How many bridges go out of Manhattan? 4. Congress shall make no law to prohibit traffic from leaving the island of Manhattan. But each bridge owner can do what they want and throw people off the bridge or just shut the bridge down whenever they want. So that's how they get around that. And in terms of the people to peacefully assemble, completely violated. All of these have been violated. Freedom of religion regarding Obamacare. There's hundreds of, if not thousands, of violations in here. Okay, so this is done. Freedom of assembly. Well, that's assemblies. Thousands of assemblies have been shut down in the last 6 months because of this thing. Well, Matt, don't you know in the case of health and safety, the Constitution looked the other way on the Constitution. No, it doesn't say to look the other way in the case of an illness going around. See how that works? Second Amendment, tens of thousands of violations. The right to keep and bear arms. So if something's determined to be arms, no government can do anything. Connecticut can't limit magazines to 6. Illegal. San Francisco can't do certain things, or you can't do certain things in city limits. Certain magazines in it's all if it's considered to be arms, which wouldn't really be hard to make that argument, then thousands of violations here. Okay, all done at a city or state level, but they should have immediately gone to a federal court or the Supreme Court and been overturned in about 90 seconds. Okay, they weren't. So it's just, Ginsburg just died. And I've, my friend, thou art a villain. Thou were a monster. If anything was real about that creature, she'd been out on the steps with a sandwich sign and a gorilla suit, just every day holding up the violations to the Bill of Rights. All of these Supreme Court nominees and inductees, they're monsters, absolute monsters. If any one of them was for real, they would literally wear a sandwich sign saying, these are, my job is to analyze violations to the Constitution, and beyond the 10 amendments, to all of the Constitution. And they would just list thousands of things on the front and back sandwich sign saying, until all of this is addressed, I'm not going to say or do anything else. And I'm going to vote no on every single thing, if anything was real. Well, Matt, somebody like that would never be put into the Supreme Court. Well, of course, somebody that doesn't play ball would never be put in. But that doesn't mean I'm not giving Ginsburg or Roberts or these people that are already in a pass. They find religion and start pushing back. Whatever, bunch of monsters. That's all they are. Third Amendment, that's just like quartering. It doesn't really apply. I mean, soldiers quartering in your home. Well, when they have, how many thousands of barracks and thousands of military bases around the world, they don't need to quarter in your home when there's $1 trillion of infrastructure to quarter the military. So that's when it doesn't apply, it's still a violation. You could say Jade Helm was a violation. They were doing operations on people's property. Fourth Amendment, this is just an absolute joke. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects. It's just right to privacy. This has been interpreted as right to privacy for 150 years. Well, every single email's read, every single tweet is analyzed, every single Facebook post is read. Most phone conversations, or all phone conversations, are digital now, monitored, all go through the AI or the supercomputer. The Snowden thing. Snowden was no hero. He was simply, it's a fiction, all put out for the same reason the Bill of Rights put out. They're just telling or announcing to everybody that your rights are gone, and that was the whole purpose of the Snowden fiction. All by design. Fifth Amendment. This is no person should be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself. I take the Fifth. I plead the Fifth. But most of the violations in the Fifth come at the end here. Nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Anybody ever heard of that civil asset forfeiture, where they can take your stuff they can just take your stuff before you've even been booked down at the station. Just take your stuff. Well, Matt, they're mostly taking from drug dealers. Well, so what? They can't take your stuff. They can't take your stuff at any time, but they certainly can't take it before you've been convicted of anything. And even if you've been convicted of something, well, then do your time. Why would they take your stuff? Unless that stuff is exactly, in line with what you've been convicted. Unless that stuff is a pile of cocaine, for example. But they take it even before you've been convicted. They take it right at the traffic stop. Civil asset forfeiture. I don't know, what do we have now? Thousands of these cases, tens of thousands. Nothing happens, nothing changes. Sixth Amendment. I'm sure this one's been completely violated too. Right to trial by jury, blah, blah, blah. Confronted. Okay, this right to, trial by jury. Well, the MDAA, was it the NDAA, National Defense Authorization Act? The NDAA of 2014, I think it was. Just anybody can just be held indefinitely if they suspect you of being a terrorist. Well, sir, I'm a U.S. citizen. I get trial by jury. Not anymore. Sit down and shut up. That just NDAA just did away with this. Nobody cared. And again, the point here, guys, is this whole thing is a karma get out of jail free card for these assholes. Seventh Amendment. This doesn't really apply. I mean, suits in excess of $20. It's just old, and but this might apply. I mean, no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any court of the United States. And fortunately, there is no precedent. If they find you innocent or not guilty of a criminal offense, the prosecution can't appeal and keep you in jail after you've been found not guilty. But in terms of thousands of other things, not a direct criminal trial like an OJ where you walk or not, how many things have been appealed forever? So no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any court. All they do is appeal and re-examine facts already tried in other courts. Luckily, but not in the case of an individual being tried for a criminal offense. Luckily. They haven't done that to us yet. Eighth Amendment. Excessive bail, excessive fines, cruel and unusual punishment. I mean, this could be the purpose of that, all that waterboarding stuff and Zero Dark 30 and movies like that. It's probably to just start floating that they even that's being waterboarding, other thing that's being violated. Oh yeah, well that's overseas dark CIA site, and that's Guantanamo. And that's how they start it in motion, and then they'll bring it here. So if I had to research this all day, could I find problems with this one? Yeah, but do I off the top of my head? No. The ninth and 10th are just there are not tens of thousands of violations of the 9th and 10th. There are hundreds of thousands of violations. So let's do 10 first. It's easier to understand. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. Basically, this just says the Constitution is this little tiny document. The 10th simply says this little tiny document here. It's really easy to read, just a few pages. This outlines what the federal government can do, like form an army. And the 10th just says, if it's not in here, and we didn't really talk about a lot of stuff in here, then it's just assumed that the people will decide on their own in their own communities, or the states will decide. So the 10th makes every single federal agency illegal. The FAA, the FDA, the SEC, the ACC basketball tournament, the SEC football conference. No, all these, the Environmental Protection Agency, the Bureau of Land Management, all illegal per the 10th Amendment. Well, Matt, that can't be so clear cut. Obviously, all these things exist, and no, it is that clear cut. All right, it is that. Well, then how are they able to do it? Well, how are they able to do all the things they do? Is that your defense? How were they able to do it? How they will always find a way to do it. This is a karma, like, get out of jail free card for these assholes. And anybody like saying, well, Matt, don't stop acknowledging that it's a get out of jail free card. You're acknowledging what they want you to acknowledge. Yeah, well, I'm on the back end. I'm going to say, well, no, we now notice it. So what do we get? How are you going to take 1,000,000 steps back, you assholes? We expect remuneration for noticing, you assholes. So no, it is that clear. Trust me. That it says if it's not in this document, then the local jurisdiction decide. Well, where is at some federal level, so some factory on a state border doesn't just dump toxic gases into another state. There's some role for this, of course, but see, the states would have to agree to all this. If there was a federal agency like the Environmental Protection Agency, then the states would all have to agree to it, have to come to a table. The government, the feds can't just set it up. Trust, it's all illegal under the 10th. It's very simple. This is not a lot to read, okay? It's very simple. And this isn't like some subset, some back page, some read the fine print. It's the Bill of Rights. We were kind of told nothing trumps that. Oh boy, look at that word. Where'd that word come into our the minions put that in, trumps this, trumps that before Trump. What are you saying, Matt? That's by design? Probably. They laid that down right after they created Humpty Dumpty, had a great fall. 9th Amendment, the enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage other rights. And this is even more broad. It basically says, well, we're kind of outlining certain rights here, like, for example, the right to bear arms. But just because we didn't mention something doesn't mean you don't have rights. So some despot, a governor, and some California State Assembly can say, "Oh, we're gonna limit everybody's ability to do this, that, rain runoff, rain coming out of gutters," which they do. And see, we can do all this, and we can move against the people, and people can't put rain barrels, like as California would say, on the side of their house to collect rainwater and runoff, and we can do all that because in the Constitution it doesn't say anything about that. So we have full reign to screw everybody. See, the 9th says, well, we're not here to list every possible thing that could come up. We want judges to understand that people have natural rights, even if it's not listed here. But see, there's tens of millions of violations to the 9th. So, Matt, that number keeps going up and up. Yeah, well, I didn't go far enough initially. Sorry. So, Joe down the street, or my dentist, she's oh, that's right, you're a conspiracy person. Can you call me? And she said, I don't want to hear anything about that. She we have a long-term relationship. And I said to her, actually, when she said that to me, I said, do you consider me somebody of a high degree of intelligence? We've known each other a long time. Well, she kind of had to shake her head to that. I said, do you think I can be easily fooled, or I could have been easily fooled in all of this? Just think all I had to do all of these years was just watch CNN. I mean, somebody of my degree of intelligence has just been fooled. Is that what you think happened? And they can't quite reconcile that. And she did actually come up with she did try to explain that away. She said, and similar to what we talked about, the radio station sending in the same signal but interpreting in two different ways on two different radio station channels. She said, well, you people see things, everybody can see things through their own glasses. And it was similar. And I want to say, well, yeah, that's exactly what your plight is. You're seeing things through a radio station that's attached to a human being that has been reduced to a certain frequency. So the whole system is set up to screw everybody, and nobody notices it. So to me, this just screams out as a karma. Hey, what can we, in the back room meeting, 17, what I don't, how this shit's done. We should, it is fascinating to go and kind of think about how the back room meeting went on all of this stuff when these minions setting up all of their infrastructure to screw over human beings for hundreds and hundreds of years into the future. They say, well, here, what we can do, guys, is we can give them this Bill of Rights. We can give them the highest evolution of human rights protection that mankind has ever been given. And what we'll do is over a 200-year period, we'll violate every single one. And if nobody notices, or they allow us to violate every single one, then, we have the biggest get-out-of-jail-free card of all time. We can continue to screw them even worse. Well, how are we going to screw them even worse? I was like, what is that? What reminds me of Forrest Gump. How are we going to screw them even worse? Well, we're going to put the entire world into a mask in 4 weeks. Why? We're going to convince them this thing is just, ravaging the world, and, grandmothers can't hug grandchildren anymore. We're going to, in 4 weeks? Yeah, in 4 weeks. And we're going to be able to do all this stuff, just ramp up, because, we gave them the Bill of Rights and they didn't do anything. They didn't call us out. Well, okay, you know what? We're going to call you out right now. Now, I'm sure others in the past have noticed problems with the Bill of Rights. That's not something that's spawning to life here for the first time, obviously. But what we're going to say now, I'm going to say it right now, and if you agree, put your energy and attention on it right now, anyone listening. Okay, collectively 1 million violations in this. You broke your own rules, assholes. You set this up. What's the price for breaking your own rules? What's the give back? What do you owe for breaking your own rules? We didn't set this up. We didn't set this up. If anything, we were born into it. Our forefathers, our ancestors didn't set this up. The minions, on behalf of whatever stands behind the dark screen, set this up. You broke your own rules. So per the yin and yang, what's the give back? What do I get? I don't want no Egg McMahon Publishers Clearinghouse thing saying I won a lottery and that'll shut me. I'm not talking about material wealth or some kind of payoff or some. No. I'm talking, what do we get back? First of all, just like Braveheart and William Wallace, you can start by have one of your commander minions present themselves before this field, before the army of people that are noticing the truth of this world. Have your commander put his head between his own legs and kiss his own arse. That's a start. Completely withdraw what's going on in the world today. Restore all these rights, and we'll talk. This is a start. It's a start for, what did Braveheart say? For 200 years of rape, pillage, and murder. That was not a good Scottish accent. But yeah, it's been noticed, see, but what's our remuneration? Because we're not demanding remuneration and payment or some sort of give back for no reason. These are your rules, assholes. You did this, and you broke it. What's the price for that? Oh man, I wouldn't want to be in your shoes. I'm not making contract with this reality by saying this sort of thing. I'm not making contract. Saying, yeah, I you know what? Screw it or not, I realize who I am now. I realize the purpose of this train stop for a soul connected to spirit's betterment, to improve upon itself. I realize that. But that doesn't mean I want to live out my rest of my life in some shit-ass situation where I can't board a flight, or I can't have a freedom of movement, or I can't go into a store without some thing wrapped around my freaking face. I don't, why, it's not normal for me to want to live the rest of my life out as satisfying, as comfortable, as fulfilling as possible. That's not normal. Okay, so if I get back there, I demand that you assholes start to give back in that regard. Then that does not, I'm not making contract with it, with you or this 3D world. I'm saying, we notice this, and the key is these are your rules, man. I didn't write this on the bottom of a rock and say you have to do this. You did this. So we'll wait. And if you use this as a karma get out of jail free, let it start building up exponentially on your ass right now. Thanks for watching, guys.